Good afternoon. Welcome to the Digital Research Infrastructure webinar series. This is our 8th webinar of the series now, which started back in February this year. Today we welcome 5 guest speakers who will be introducing us to the Natural Environment Research Council's Environmental Data Service. So we're going to hear from Patrick Bell, from Danielle Wright, Steve Donegan, Matthew Nichols, and Ag Stevens. We will be going through quite a lot of content today, be very interesting. So if you do have a question throughout, please do pop it in the chat or hold your question until the Q&A session, which will commence after all the speakers have delivered their presentations, and we'll be happy to answer them. Any questions you have afterwards that don't get covered in this meeting, I will make contact with the speakers and we can get them over to you at the conclusion of the event. So we'll be sharing the recording for the session as well as the slide deck. That'll also be sent to everyone who has registered for this event. So thank you for joining us today in what is the 8th Digital Research Infrastructure webinar. So I think, given that we do have quite a few speakers today, we'll get started. We'll make that now. So as I say, welcome today. This is the 8th of the Digital Research Infrastructure webinars. So this series will showcase digital research infrastructure projects, communities from the UK and beyond. Join us to learn about state-of-the-art initiatives that aim to advance research tools and techniques, foster collaboration, data sharing, and accelerate discoveries across a range of academic disciplines and sectors. So just before we get on to the speakers, I've just got a bit about us, the Digital Curation Service. So we are an internationally recognized center of expertise in digital curation, research data management, and open science based in Scotland. We were established in 2004 with a mission to help organizations worldwide make the best use of their data in and for research, development, and operations in all contexts, be them academic, industrial, governmental, or more. Our team provide expert advice and practical assistance in storing, managing, protecting, and sharing digital data and obtaining the best value from it. So our services include some of what you can see on the slide here, from our International Journal of Digital Curation, a collection of items from our International Digital Curation Conference that we host every year in February. Next year, that'll be coming to Lisbon in Portugal, held in early February. We also take part in multiple funded projects, be those European and in the UK as well. So we're currently working on Fidelis and have worked in the Fair Impact project. We also have our DMP online tool as well as other services from events, training and consultancy. So just before I hand over to the speakers, I just want to go through a couple of questions just to get a bit of a flavor of who's joined us today. So we're going to do that using something called WooClap. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. So just using a handheld device, just scan the QR code, or if you are looking to do that on your laptop, you can simply enter wooclap.com to your browser and then put in the event code PDICMMR. Thank you, Joy. So you posted that in the chat. So you can continue to join us as we go through the questions. So I'll do a couple of questions, then I'll hand over to Patrick, who will get us started today. So first of all, where are you calling from? It's always good to know where our community is calling in from. Largely, we have seen the UK very well represented at these webinars, but we have had contacts from Ethiopia, Estonia, from Netherlands to Spain as well, so very well represented considering the initial idea of the series was predominantly UK focused. We are looking to broaden that, so it's great to see people come from different areas. So I can see very well represented across the UK, which is always good to see, particularly with our topic today as well. So I can see we have a few people in there. So just a reminder, if you have just joined us, welcome. This is just a quick getting to know you who's joined us today on wooclap.com. So you can enter wooclap.com into your browser and use the code PDICMMR. Joyce kindly posted that in the chat as well. So just our next question. What is your job title? predominantly research-based, is what we've seen so far in the series, from research data specialists to data stewards as well. So we expect to see a lot of that as well, and particularly given our topic today, seeing a marine data manager is not a surprise and very welcome too. But yeah, I see research very well represented, as well as librarians. Certainly had a few people from the library profession in the past, as well as collections as well. And I must say, all of our previous recordings are available on the DCC website as well. So you're welcome to go in through the catalogue of previous sessions, as well as this one that will be shared next week. So we've had a majority of you in there. So I'm just going to have one more question for you before I'm going to hand over to Patrick, who's going to kick off a series of talks from our guest speakers today. So finally, before I hand over, how familiar are you with the Environmental Data Service? We will ask the question at the end as well, and I'm sure you'll be very familiar, but it's always good, both for us and for our speakers today, to get some context around your familiarity with the subject matter today. So we always like to ask this question, and we normally see a slight variety in the answers, but typically a little bit is often what we come across. So glad to see that's reflected in this question today as well. So I'll just give you another kind of 10 seconds or so to complete that. I will leave this open in the background, as do feel free to keep clicking on this as Patrick presents the first slideshow. And then we'll come back to this following the Q&A. So as a reminder, if you do have any questions throughout, please do pop them in the chat or hold on to them, and we can come to you in the Q&A session. We do have 5 speakers today, so be grateful if you can hold on to your question, be that putting it in the chat or putting your hand up during the Q&A session, which will follow the conclusion of the 5 speakers today. So with that in mind, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll hand over to Patrick Bell of the Environmental Data Service. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you very much, Al. Appreciate that. And thank you everyone for joining us today for this webinar. And yeah, thank you to the Digital Curation Centre for inviting us to talk to you today about the Environmental Data Service. So I'll just bring the slides up. It's going to come up shortly in. Okay, is that welcome out in welcome slide in presentation mode?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay,
Patrick.
Great, thank you. Okay, yeah. So as I said, there's 5 of us talking today. So I'll start off by giving an introduction to the Environmental Data Service, and then I'll pass over to my colleagues, Steve, Danielle, Matt, and Ag, who'll take you to a deeper dive of some of the services that are component parts of the data service that we offer. So what is the NERC Environmental Data Service? We're part of the NERC Environmental Research Councils, NERC being one of the UKRI's 9 academic and industrial funding councils, creating knowledge with impact. And we're essentially a network of distributed data centres with different environmental domain specific expertise. As part of that, we provide a focal point for that scientific data and information spanning a wide range of environmental sectors, atmosphere and climate, Earth observation, polar and cryosphere, marine, terrestrial, freshwater, geoscience, solar and space physics. And I guess while the individual data centres have their individual discipline-specific expertise, the EDS kind of comes together to pull together those decades of experience to provide an integrated shared service that works across all those domains. And our aim really is to support researchers and anyone who has an interest in learning more about the natural world by hosting the largest collection of environmental science data in the UK. And our goal there is to make sure that environmental data are made readily accessible and is reusable for the long term in order to kind of realize its fullest value. And you might expect some of our core functions, it's around that data gathering, data management, and the enablement of knowledge and wisdom to be generated from that information. So a large part of what we do is around making sure that data complies with the FAIR principles, ingesting, rating, bless you, cataloging data, data storage, archiving, preservation, and enabling its discovery, to say, to kind of imply with those FAIR principles. And then providing the tools, increasingly is an increasing part of what we're doing, in providing those analysis tools, those visualization tools that enable users to develop insights and discoveries and underpin decisions. Our vision really is to be that leader in the provision of environmental data for the UK and the global society. And we achieve that through 5 core pillars. Implementing an organizational governance structure to drive the enhancements for our existing integrated activities, leading us towards a more cohesive EDS, delivering those EDS services through consolidated data governance, standards, policies, and innovative new technologies, engaging with EDS stakeholders to enhance our understanding of user and societal requirements, enabling more effective prioritization and provision of EDS services, which enrich the delivery and the impact of that UK science. We all have a role in promoting training and development of environmental data professionals and data users as an integral part of NERC science delivery, both within the EDS and the wider research community. And finally, kind of adopting a proactive, innovative approach to implementing new technologies and scientific methods to ensure that the EDS remains at the cutting edge and is fit for purpose. And a bigger part of what we're doing, the EDS is about supporting integrated environmental science. Our data holdings are an asset that underpin our understanding of the environment. Questions asked about the environment, cross-disciplinary boundaries, environmental change, for example, flood forecasting and alleviation, sustainable use of natural resources, and improving support, providing actionable information for those who require access to that environmental data from a wide range of disciplines and sectors is central to our roadmap. In terms of some of the problems we're trying to address, I kind of think there's a fundamental paradox in that we have more environmental data than ever before, yet accessing that data and using this information is increasingly frustrating. There's a challenge around accessibility. Environmental data exists in fragmented ecosystems following different standards, with each data source requiring specialist knowledge to access, understand, and process, which kind of creates artificial barriers between data and the users, resulting in this valuable scientific data resource largely remaining underutilized, slowing process on its utilization to address environmental challenges. And another challenge is around the multidisciplinary aspect of the work. As we've mentioned, environmental challenges don't respect academic boundaries, climate change impacts, atmospheric science, oceanography, ecology, hydrology. Yet our data infrastructures often reflect kind of outdated disciplinary silos. And this kind of fragmentation slows that interdisciplinary collaboration precisely when we need to be enhancing it. So these are some of the challenges, I guess, that the EDS are working to address. And in doing so, in trying to address these issues, the EDS is evolving. It's providing enhanced levels of integration needed, as I say, to address these interdisciplinary research questions that are behind the societal issues that are central to the government's missions. But when the EDS started out, we were really those 5 loosely joined individual data centers. And over the last 10 years or so, we've created an integration layer with increasing levels of this sophistication. Initially, a thin layer of integration, joint metadata catalog, a kind of central inquiries point, starting to bring people together in the different organizations. And this integration has been enhanced as over time through harmonized processes, harmonized data ingestion pipelines, standardized data delivery services. And as we move forward, we're kind of increasingly working in partnership and co-design with other sectors and other disciplines. We might imagine a future where we're connecting with those other big environmental organizations, DRI, MEDIN, the Met Office, etc., to create an environmental node, perhaps as part of the National Data Library. So as we move forward, we're very much around innovating to provide enhanced capabilities, reaching out to a broader user base, and working in collaboration with others to address those societal issues that are central to government missions. And very much along that direction is travel, is moving from maybe where we were 10 years ago, where we were more focused on data management and curation. And now, while that's still a central pillar to what we do, building towards the provision of more products and services, providing actionable information to help users from different disciplines, different sectors, underpin their decisions. So that's all I had to say by way of an introduction. And I'd now like to pass on to Steve to talk about the NERC metadata catalogue.
Hello, thank you, Patrick. Just if you advance to the next slide, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so the NERC Data Catalog service is really something that sits at the pinnacle of just sort of publishing all this discovery level metadata from all the different EDS centres. And one of the problems is, as Patrick's probably just highlighted, is that there's such a breadth of the scientific data available. So whatever our data catalogue does, it has to handle whether it's butterfly counts from the from CEH, the Environmental Information Data Service, whether it's cruise level metadata for cruise ships for for BODC or for BAS, as well as sort of our long-term satellite data series that we have here at CEDA. So the way that the EDS does this is that each of these individual data centers provides metadata from their own individual systems that produce metadata, and we've finalized on a sort of a distinct sort of like set of metadata called UKGemini that encompasses all the aspects of this data that we need, that's provided, you know, of these metadata publication points. Pardon me. So where this metadata all conforms to this UKGemini 2.3 as well as MEDIN, we take this data, and these are usually published as sort of endpoints, whether it's a WAF, which is a web accessible folder, so it's really easy. If you've got some metadata, you can just dump it. You can also handle the open OGC CSW as well as OAI PMH. There's a whole different levels, and the way that we do this is using this GeoNetwork software, which is a bit of open source software that is really handy. We used to have a much more bespoke solution, but we went with this because it gave us a lot more tools rather than just being a simple catalogue that with a visible GUI that you can actually just do a simple search and with multifaceted searches that can drill down depending on what you want. So we run that here at CEDA. So the day-to-day thing is we make sure that the metadata is harvested from each of the individual centres. We work also with these individual centres as well in terms of the content, making sure that things are properly represented as they want them to. We've been working a lot recently because a lot of the work we do at CEDA is based around sort of like satellite services and data, bringing data in and making it available. So I can hear somebody there if I'm not sure. Yeah, if you'd like to mute that, that'd be great. Okay, I'll carry on. Yes, so we are all about, you know, we run many services here at CEDA, not just the environmental data, the data catalog service, we run things for satellite data, environment, sort of like atmospheric data, lots of things we do, and so the DCS is just one part of what we do. So one of the things we've been focusing on recently is sort of like improving the service in terms of its technological kind of latency that we use in Kubernetes. We've done a lot of work on this. So this slide is probably more aimed at maybe my EDS colleagues in terms of telling them what we're doing, how we can support them. So we have been spending, so we're aware there's a few little small issues that we're working through, but one of the things we're trying to do is by making sure that these other other centers within the EDS have got the tools they need to sort of like make sure their metadata is good enough to go on there, that we constantly review that. There's things like simple things like checking out the URLs that are within the metadata, that they all work, because sometimes because we've all got different systems that produce this metadata, they've got like little quirks and foibles that maybe doesn't go what we want to show exactly what we want to do it. It's been proven, it sounds silly to say, so it's very difficult to sort out at this level. Originally it was very difficult to run this data through a schematron, so we've been trying to make sure that that's what we do, and ensuring that it's supported within the new data catalog service as well. And yeah, so at the moment we're trying to update and providing things that people can a service endpoint that people can, if they've got data to go on the DCS, that we can actually change out, ensure that it's properly visualized properly. And then we've done that by, hopefully we're about to roll out like a duplicate service just for EDS centers only, so that we can actually work through the issues that we've been having with this newly updated service. So we're trying to do that at the moment. So as I said, this is probably a bit more focused at my EDS colleagues, but yes, essentially it's just about bringing metadata in using UK Gemini, and then we can go and publish that data, whether it's through this GUI or via another OGC CSW that's got this all these metadata records in, that's available to anyone if they need that, and to feed into other services. So it's all part of just one part of that ecosystem, but the central takeaway point is that it's a central catalogue of all the records that we've collected from all the other EDS centres. So with that, I think that's the only slide I've got, just highlighting what the EDS is. I hope it gives you a good overview, but I'll hand over to Danielle now, if that's okay.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm just going to introduce the NERC vocabulary server that we host at BODC. You have the next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, just a brief overview to introduce it. So the NVS is what we call a semantic artifact repository, where we host standardized hierarchical terminologies, which can be used for the management of data in the marine and related domains. So yeah, the NVS essentially stores and serves vocabularies, which we also call collections. And these are essentially groups of terms or concepts. And we also host the relationships or mappings between individual terms. And these are presented in both human and machine readable formats. So essentially anyone that is generating environmental data can come to the NVS, and search for suitable vocabulary terms. And yeah, data originators can then use these terms to mark up or annotate their data sets with a view to making them comparable and interoperable with other similar data sets that are out there. Next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce 5 key elements that sort of make the NVS successful and fair. So to start with, we have a very strong governance group. So we have a dedicated team of individuals at BODC that form part of our internal vocabulary management group. We are trying to distribute governance as much as possible, and we sort of regularly engage with different communities and domain experts using collaborative tools, mainly GitHub. In terms of publication, we have multiple different methods of serving vocabularies to suit different users. It's made publicly available through a REST API, a SPARQL endpoint, and also our SOAP service. And of course, we have our human interface as our website. In terms of standards, everything we do is based on compliance with various web standards. And this enabled us to be interoperable with other systems. So each collection, concept, and individual mapping is assigned a unique persistent identifier in the form of a URI, which is Uniform Resource Identifier. And each of those resolves in RDF and can be served in other serializations as well, such as XML, JSON-LD, and Turtle. We also provide several tools to facilitate the usage of our vocabularies, and these are either hosted ourselves or we link to tools that are developed by our European partners as well. And finally, monitoring. The availability and reliability of the NVS itself is monitored 24/7, both internally and also externally. And we aim to act on issues as soon as possible after they are identified. So essentially, those 5 elements really help us maintain a robust system. Next slide, please. So within the EDS, thinking about the MVS, due to the fact that it did originate at BODC several decades ago, the content of our vocabularies is mostly dominated by the marine and related domains. However, we are working with other EDS centres towards federating all of our vocabulary assets across all the centres, and we're hoping to create a centralised service which would allow sort of discoverability and access to all EDS vocabularies. So watch this space, because it's something we are actively working towards. But essentially, to sum up, everything that we do in this sphere is to sort of facilitate interoperability of data and metadata within the EDS and also beyond, because we are situated in various European and global settings. And yeah, for interest, all of our requests for new collections and concepts are managed through GitHub and also via email. So I just left the links to both of those there. So yeah, thank you. I think now I'll pass on to Matt.
Hi, thanks, Danny. Yeah, so I'm Matt Nichols, a data steward technical specialist at the EIDC. I'm going to talk to you about the Data Stewardship Wizard, which is the service that the EDS runs for grant support and data management planning. From the outset, I should say it's technically called the FAIR Wizard, but we've just come to call it the DSW internally. So apologies if I kind of switch between terms. So at its core, it's a user-friendly questionnaire-driven tool for comprehensive data management planning, but that kind of doesn't really tell the whole story about it. So on the next slide, please, Patrick. There's, we know the problems with traditional data management plans. I don't need to go into all the details, but there's the traditional kind of static Word documents, which is kind of seen as an admin task, kind of an obligation with no perceived value, no use with other systems, and normally quite generic, not relevant to a particular domain. But with the DSW, so next slide, please, Patrick. We're trying to kind of reimagine the DMP as a kind of living, evolving process rather than just a static document. So it's a questionnaire that can be updated throughout the grant and be collaborated on by kind of different team members at the same time. The kind of ethos with the questions is to be kind of closed, or mainly closed and adaptive. They're domain specific, so they should lead researchers to kind of consider questions that are only relevant to them, and kind of helping to ensure that all the kind of key aspects of data management are considered from the kind of start of the project through to long-term preservation and reuse. So yeah, within the tool as well, there's embedded guidance. There's links to even more detailed guidance on the kind of central NERC data management pages, and all of this is supported by the data center staff at each data center. Some questions have FAIR metrics, scores associated with the answers, kind of indicating best practice back to the researcher kind of instantaneously. So what this tries to do is to make the data management planning process into a kind of useful exercise for scientists and help them to kind of plan their science, hopefully with improved outcomes, and hopefully the result, we think the result is a kind of more consistent, comprehensive data stewardship across the NERC community, aligned with the FAIR principles. So on the next slide, or the next couple of slides, I've got a couple of videos just to give you a little flavour of what it looks like. So hopefully that will start playing and the mouse will start moving if it works.
Not seeing a button to press either.
Oh no. If you press, if you at the bottom, Patrick.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, so you can see it's kind of an interactive questionnaire. We've got the answers, questions in green. There's kind of chapters and headings over on the left, and they're all linked. And you can see there's kind of lots of yes or no questions. The answer open up new questions. And if you click on the preview up there, it kind of renders a PDF with all of your answers from the questionnaire into a ready-made DMP. There was a kind of red box at the top there to say, oh, you've missed a few questions. Can you go and answer those? And scrolling down, you can see how some of the answers have come out into the DMP. On the next slide, there's another video, again, just a short one. On that started automatically. Yeah, so you can, oh no, is that the same one again, Patrick? Yeah, so I should have just done them all as one. Yeah, so you can see there was the question in red to show it's not answered. And there was links to more guidance. You can share it, you can add to-dos, you can add comments either to yourself or to someone else in your team just to say, you know, please read that guidance. Next slide, please. So the approach we took for NERC EDS was to have a kind of core set of questions that was common across all the data centers. And this was to enable sharing of the data management plans across data centers if needs be. But we also, you know, appreciate that the data centers want to ask different questions of people. So the best example of this is the autonomous platform deployments that BODC and PDC want to ask about, but obviously the other data centers are not interested in. So we have these data center specific tags, which you can see highlighted there. And that means that only the grants that are associated with that data center will get asked that question. So when it's not relevant to you, you won't see it at all. And we have the kind of code behind to build the data management plan to deal with all this kind of conditional coding, I suppose. On the next slide, please. We have a little feature for communications with the data center, so they can ask a question, answer a question, fill it in, and the data center gets notified just to kind of help try and streamline some communications. And on the next slide again, we have a reporting app, which is just used for the data centers themselves, but it helps to give a kind of high-level overview of what's going on. So it pulled out some of the answers or some stats from the DSW. So a data center can see how many they've got, how many unanswered questions there are, for example, see the kind of FAIR scores that they're getting. So it's kind of useful for management oversight. So next slide, please. So yeah, just a bit about impact. We think this gives a kind of improved researcher experience. Researchers saying they much prefer this method. It's easier, clearer, more thorough. From the data center's point of view, you get better clarity and completeness in the completed data management plans. The FAIR metrics, they allow researchers to understand how their kind of practices align with the FAIR principles. We think this reduces burden as well. It's kind of less duplicated documents, less emails and kind of fragmented communications. And yeah, I think it's a kind of a demonstration of a successful collaboration between the data centers. So it was led by us at the EIDC, but we had to, with a working group, we had to customize the tool, do some kind of cross-center testing, feedback cycles, and then training and onboarding as well. Next slide, please, Patrick. Yeah, so thank you for listening. Yeah, we think it's the introduction of this tool has kind of significantly transformed how NERC-funded researchers plan and manage their research data. So if you're interested in finding out more, there's a generic email where you can get to our team that's implemented it here. And there's a couple of blog posts or news posts we've written about this. There's about the environmental data service one on the left, and then a blog post about the story of how we implemented it. Well, the DSW, but a different system at UKCEH, where I'm based. Thanks for listening. I guess I'm passing on to Ag. I'll put those links in the chat as well for anyone interested.
That's great, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Ag Stevens. I'm the Head of Partnerships at the Centre for Environmental Data Analysis, and I'm going to tell you a bit about sort of AI-ready data and some work we did on 2 AI-related projects in the last year. Next slide, please. So first of all, let's just have a think about what we mean by AI-ready. Before we go there, we could say, well, what is good practice in scientific data management? And I won't read all of these, but many of you will be familiar with kind of the FAIR principles. So standards-based formats, good structuring of data using control vocabularies, proper descriptive metadata, thinking about how we publish our metadata to make it discoverable, use of repositories and APIs, all these things. Next slide, please. So in comparison, what is AI-ready data? So I would say that AI-ready data is all of those above things, which is often a lot of the hard work that we have to do. And then a few more extra things like the translation of data into a form that can be read directly into machine learning tools, and sort of transformations like inserting missing values into data sets, restructuring arrays, converting into these things that are called tensors, multi-dimensional arrays used by graphical processing units or GPUs. And at training time, because GPUs are expensive, what we would like is for the read times for our data to be brought into the GPUs to be absolutely minimized. So we make the maximum use of those GPUs, and we're optimizing that because of the higher costs and potentially environmental cost as well. And caching may be appropriate in many cases for this. Next slide, please. So we had 2 projects. The first was called High 5 for AI, and this was about making NERC's high-value data sets AI-ready. So we were engaging with end users, prioritizing sort of release of certain data sets that we considered high priority, high value, and developing workflows to sort of demonstrate the capabilities with AI applications. Next slide, please. So some of the key outcomes of High 5 for AI, one of them was and actually with both projects, it was about how we nurtured the collaboration between the different partner data centers within EDS. We were doing a lot of work collaborating on GitHub, and we started off with about 20 people in the GitHub organization and ended up with 68 by the end of it, with 2 teams working across multiple repositories and projects. So that was a really good demonstration of kind of collaboration and bringing us together. A key outcome from High 5 was that we were often working in Python, and we were working in many different code bases, finding we needed a common interface to a lot of our different data. And so as part of this, we prototyped something that we called load EDS or loadids, which is a Python library that's available on GitHub as a kind of pilot form at the moment, that demonstrated interaction from Python to data sets from across 4 of the EDS data centers, coming from very different data sources. Next slide, please. 2 of the other key outcomes. So we explored this format called croissants, and also an extension to that called GeoQuassant for geospatial data. And this is essentially a kind of a developing standard for the machine learning community. And we were looking at how we could use it with environmental data sets. We demonstrated it does have significant value, especially if we can integrate our kind of the different data we have into this ML croissant library, to basically provide seamless data access as much as possible. And that's already used for a lot of other data sets in machine learning. In terms of our integration with data APIs and file formats, we demonstrated the capability to kind of integrate these different interfaces and different types of formats as well. Next slide, please. And for those of you who want to know more about Croissant, they've got this nice graphic here. So it's supported by Kaggle and Hugging Face, who are big players in the machine learning world. It integrates with some of the sort of key Python libraries, and it builds on schema.org, which some of you will know is a kind of de facto standard for metadata on the web. Next slide, please. We generated a few example Jupyter notebooks to kind of demonstrate the code capabilities, and we focused on 2 particular use cases, environmental use cases, the exploration of blue-green spaces and also offshore wind farms. And if you follow our links, you'll be able to find some of these examples demonstrating access to different data and going into the data via Croissant files. Next slide, please. So we also, as part of High 5, we explored the building of an agentic AI framework. There's a lot in this slide. The key points are that there is, down the bottom in the middle, there's a core Python framework, and that allows you to build different types of agents and integrate them with different capabilities. So with domain-specific data in the bottom left corner, such as tools and documents relevant to, for example, offshore wind farms or offshore wind capabilities, and environmental data. And then we built it so you could configure it to talk to different large language models, either remotely, commercial models, or open source models. And also that you could build and evaluate experiments that try out these different configurations and try and work out which ones give you the best results. That's also in an open source repository within the NERC EDS GitHub. Okay, next slide, please. We explored something called Model Context Protocol, which some of you will know is an open standard defining how AI language models and agents can connect to other tools, data sources and services. And we held a kind of EDS discussion on this, and there were some really interesting considerations about if and how we might expose some of our capabilities, and also concerns about whether we might kind of lose the connectivity to our kind of trusted science background in that. Next slide, please. So our other project was FrameFM, and I'll just say briefly about that. This was a Python framework for creating machine learning workflows with large environmental data sets. Next slide, please. And so we built this Python-based framework, and we built it on top of a set of tools you can see at the bottom. So some of the key players in terms of Python machine learning, and then sort of some of the key data interfaces like X-Array. We incorporated Croissant. And we also demonstrated the capability of being able to build and then port these workflows from our Jasmine facility to the Isambard AI facility in Bristol that has a large sort of model training capability. Next slide, please. Another aspect of the FrameFM project was this thing called an ETL, or extract, transform, load pipeline, for working with big environmental data sets. And what we were really trying to do here was abstract away the need for users to write lots of their own code in order to get hold of large data sets and also transform them into the form they needed to build into their machine learning workflows. Very happy to talk to people if they'd like to sort of find out more about that. But we think it's definitely something we want to pursue in future and make more commonplace for general usage. Next slide, please. And so, yeah, just coming to the end now, some of the key issues we found that it is still confusing for users to find access and use the large amount of heterogeneous environmental data that's out there. We observe that AI ready often means well-described, structured, fair, and appropriately formatted data. There's a lot of overlap there. Machine learning is a big topic. We need to provide the tools and frameworks to help scientists get started with this stuff because there's so much out there. We need more work on agents and large language models and more about evaluation and attribution. And we need to base solutions on real user needs. And so we want to work more in the things that we built in terms of these libraries and shared tools. And then the final slide, please, Patrick. So our kind of recommendations where we go next are to sort of start building our new projects on top of this loaded prototype instead of kind of creating new code bases all the time. Integrate that as much as possible with the ML Croissant library. That's an external open source product. Again, yeah, look at agentic capabilities and extend that big data ETL pipeline that I just showed the diagram for, and then expose the Frame FM recipes and workflows to more of our users through training opportunities. I think that's enough from me. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much to all of our speakers. It's really been impressive to see just how much work is going on across the EDS and lots of exciting new developments for us to check out. We do have a few minutes for questions, and there is a question in the chat at the moment, so I'll start with that one. It's a question from Kirsten Radford, just asking, how are new NERC award holders guided toward the relevant EDC and the data stewardship wizard? Does their institutional research support system need to do anything, or will the EDS team reach out to the award holder?
Yeah, so we will reach out to the award holder is the short answer. Yeah, every data center will have their own process or workflow of how it works for them, but yeah, we kind of identify award holders, decide which data center the grant is kind of relevant to, and then that data center will get in contact with them and get them set up. Yeah,
that's great. Hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions from anyone in the list of participants? I do have a couple, but I want to give the floor to others before I take the time. I don't see it. So I think one question I did have, I thought, when you were talking about the work that you've been doing with the newer AI related projects, I was curious to know when you were talking about the high value data sets, so you're choosing to focus on it. I was just wondering if you could just say briefly, what kind of parameters do you use to identify the high value data sets? Is it, number of users or some other kind of factors that you use?
I think that's a good question, and actually that's an activity on our roadmap for this coming year to do that more comprehensively. I think in this instance it was what we intrinsically knew, what we knew people were downloading, what people were inquiring about, and it was that kind of tacit knowledge that we had. But you're absolutely right, you hit on something that we have identified too. Now we've got the pipelines in place to publish this data. It's now about being a bit more structured in identifying and having a method for identifying what those high value data are and pushing more of that data through those pipelines.
Oh, that's great. Perfect. Thank you. So there are another couple of questions. So from Susanna, what is the size of your research support team? And what range of skills and expertise does it include? And thank you for the very informative presentation as well. So I don't know who's best placed to answer that. Maybe Patrick. I don't know if this is one for you.
Yes, I guess that varies from centre to centre. Yeah, we have data stewards, people who can help people in curating and managing their metadata, importing their data into the data centres, domain specialists in each of the centres who can advise on specialist information. Yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to help me out anymore. Did I say Matt put something in the chat there? Templates, okay. Yeah, no, I don't have much to add really.
Yeah, we have
Oh, go ahead.
well, it's going to add to what Patrick said. Yeah, there's a whole range of skills from software developers, and there's people that have come from different scientific backgrounds. So it's quite a range, yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, I know it's hard to measure, but just even how much time it takes to support the different aspects. I think that's something we all struggle with, is just knowing how much time and effort we're putting into the support provision. But yes, it's good to understand. There's a question here from Dan, just asking, would you make your DSW templates available to researchers writing DMPs when applying for grants? Or is this something that happens once they're being awarded NERC funding? What's the kind of process for making use of the DSW?
Can I ask a clarifying question to Dan? What exactly do you mean by DSW templates? Do you mean the questionnaire itself, or?
Yeah, I mean, feel free to unmute, Dan, if you wanted to clarify.
Oh, well, sorry, yeah, I just unmuted. Thanks, Matthew. Yeah, we've been looking into Data Stewardship Wizard. So I'm based at University of Oxford in the library, and we support people with data management plans. So we've been looking into using Data Stewardship Wizard, but I guess one thing we've noticed is that those templates for funders aren't necessarily available there. So we're looking at how they would be created for our researchers. And if you had your questionnaire, which had the relevant questions that you would want to receive when someone's applying for a grant, could that be made available generally for others to use?
Okay, yeah, so the set of questions that we ask, yeah, as you may know, if you started to look into it, is something called the knowledge model, that contains all the questions, contains all the links and everything. We can definitely look into making that available. I don't think there's any reason not to. I say off the top of my head, and yeah, we're happy to kind of have a call. We've chatted to a few other organisations that have been looking to set it up, because it is a bit of a process, as you may have realised, with the knowledge model, and then there's the code to sort out the document templates that render the PDFs as well. Yeah, it's something we should be sharing for sure. So we'll take that away. But yeah, get in contact if you have more detailed questions.
Great, thank you very much. And great presentation, thanks.
Just a couple more questions in the chat. I think just a follow-up from Susanna, just saying she was curious to know if across the centers there are more or less than 10 people to support RDM. So if you have that sort of figure off the top of your head.
I would imagine it's more than 10 across the centres.
Yeah, that's great. And another question here from Sadiq, following on from Kirsten, is the applicable to NERC-funded PhD students? Is this applicable to NERC-funded PhD students? Will the EDC team reach out to the supervisor? He's asking because I'm a PhD student. I knew about the National Geoscience Data Center, which is within my research area. So EDC is kind of new to me. So
yeah, so if you're familiar with the NGDC, then the process is what would apply to you. So the EDS as a whole, it's the individual data centers who will work with you on, depending on the domain that your data's from, but the EDS kind of integrates and harmonizes those processes. So yeah, if you're working with the NGDC, you know, the practices, then that's what would apply.
And I guess the question was just, would the EDC team be reaching out to the supervisor, or I guess who makes that initial matchmaking kind of?
I think it's done by grant, or like child grant even. So if the PhD student is kind of funded underneath a certain grant, then maybe they'll sit within that umbrella. If they have their own grant, then maybe they'll get contacted. Yeah, but they should be contacted by NGDC if it's relevant to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's generally whoever is the grant holder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any data that's generated under that grant would have an obligation to make it available to whatever the suitable data center is. So it is something that PhD students should be aware of, but yeah, generally managed by whoever the grant holder is, whether that's their supervisor or not. Yeah.
Okay, great. Worth just one more comment in the chat here from Alex, just saying worth noting that all of the UKRI organizations will move to a unified DMP process within a year. Might be a good time to talk to them. So I think there's the updated data policy coming shortly, so there will obviously be some implications from that. So very good suggestion there. I'm aware we're kind of 4 minutes down to the end of the hour, and I know Al has a closing poll question for everyone. So I'll just say thank you very much for the presentations and for the discussion. I think some really good information has been shared. And I'm going to hand back to Al just to do the closing. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Joy. So yes, as Joy mentioned, we just got a closing poll based on what we first showed you. So starting with how familiar you were to now, do you feel you have a better understanding now of the environmental data service? Always good to see yeses, especially after such a comprehensive presentation. So thank you to Patrick, Danielle, Steve, Matt, and Ag. After the conclusion of this session, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be sharing the full recording as well as the slide deck and some details about how to contact the EDS team as well. So if there's any conversations or questions that haven't been answered that you think of after the session, you're welcome to contact the team about those as well. So being conscious of time, I'm just going to leave that open. So please do continue to complete that question there. But just to mention the next webinar, so we do have one that's being organised that we'll let you know about potentially in August, but one that is confirmed is fair sharing. So this is a webinar that's been presented by Dr. Lister and Professor Sansone. So fair sharing, a widely endorsed service that supports a wide range of fair enabling activities from data management planning to fair compliance, working with communities across disciplines and at national and European levels. So I just want to say thank you very much to all our speakers again for joining us today. Thank you to those of you who registered for this webinar and attended. We will be sharing the link to the recording as well as the slides after this. So if there are any colleagues who couldn't make this or didn't register, please do feel free to pass that information on as well. We've been the Digital Curation Centre. You can follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or on Blue Sky, and you're welcome to sign up for our DC Associates mailing list so you can hear more about the upcoming DRI webinar series, as well as our International Digital Curation Conference. So with that in mind, if there are no more questions, I'd like to conclude with the webinar today. Thank you again for joining, and thank you so much to our speakers again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.